Hello, this is the trade site Forex market preview and international economic data roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, the 7th of June 2015, ending Friday the 12th. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal 12. Hope you had a good trading week. Here's a look at the US dollar index, bouncing back and forth between the red and green current static trend lines from our 9-bar counts. And we're stuck in that range so far, but there is a little bit of volatility this week. We had an okay week. Let's take a look at some of the major pairs on the daily charts. Here's the euro dollar forming sort of a cup and handle at the lows for a breakout potentially. But we are 9 bars up towards our 13 seeker sell signal. Here's a look at the pound dollar. This is a little more mid-range for the last couple of months, although the average daily ranges, as we've seen, have been better. The total market action day over day has not been impressive. Here's the Aussie dollar sitting again right on that red static trend line. That is the current support level based on our 9-bar counts. As you can see, it's using it pretty exactly. If it were to break the lows, should get a run to the downside here on the Aussie dollar. Here's the New Zealand dollar, which just did exactly that this last week, broke under the lows from back in February and pushed lower. Here's one cross pair. This is the pound yen. A very nice double cup breakout that's now starting to come to fruition here. So interesting setups, and we're getting some movement away from the areas that we've been in now for a while. So here's a look at the week in the euro dollar and 30-minute bars. So you can see last Friday's close at the far left of the chart. Opened flat on Sunday. Sunday to Monday was a very flat session. Tuesday moved up nicely, had some winners. Wednesday flat until there was a news announcement that spiked to the market midday Wednesday. Thursday headed higher and then came back. Friday we were heading up. We had a winner going on the long side and then rolled over and reversed on news here in the U.S., the unemployment number. And so we end up with, what do we have for the week? Almost 500 pips of range, which is great range. Unfortunately for us, on the biggest move on Tuesday, we did get stopped out of a trade just barely for a small loss that ended up going on to a 250 pip winner. So first time in a while that's happened, but it does happen occasionally. Let's take a look at the pound dollar over the same time frame, the last week. 30-minute bars, again, flat opening, down on Monday, a little more active than the euro. Back up on Tuesday, fairly flat on Wednesday. They did have a rate announcement from the Bank of England. Up on Thursday and back down on Friday, closed almost exactly where it opened for the week, almost within 10 pips or so. And total range here for the week was less. It was only 280 pips or so, so not as dynamic as the euro dollar. Just look at that Aussie that's setting up for a potential breakdown. This thing traded about 200 pips of range over the week. And here's the pound yen, a cross pair. Steady rise going on there. All right, so that's the various pairs. Let's take a look now at the data that's coming out this week. See what we can roadmap for. Bank holiday in New Zealand to start the week. Australia's AIG Manufacturing Index. Japan's capital spending. MI inflation gauge out of Australia. The manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI numbers out of China at 9 p.m. Looks like they separate them by 2 minutes. 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday night. Building approvals and company operating profits out of Australia. Final manufacturing PMI out of Japan, and then China. That's all Sunday night. Going into Monday, preliminary CPI out of Germany, commodity prices out of Australia, Spanish manufacturing PMI, Swiss manufacturing PMI, the same out of Italy, France, Germany, and the broad European sector, and then the UK, all spaced by about 15, sometimes just 5-10 minutes. Wow, this is kind of weird. This is different than I remember it, the way they lay those out in order like that. Then in the US on Monday, we've got, no, you know what, guys? I apologize. Sorry, let's start this over. That was last week. My bad. All right, we'll go to starting the week on a bank holiday in Australia this time. Japan's current account and final GDP bank lending and final GDP price index. It's a lot of Japanese data coming out Sunday night. China's got their trade balance going into Monday. Japan's economy watchers sentiment. Europe's German industrial production and trade balance. Sentex investor confidence out of Europe. The G7 meetings start. Day 2, actually Sunday's day 1. Canada housing starts and building permits. Labor market conditions index here in the U.S. That's a new one. New Zealand manufacturing sales. BRC retail sales monitor out of the U.K. Money stock out of Japan. Business confidence, job advertisements, and home loans out of Australia. Some interesting data numbers they put out there. CPI and PPI out of China come out at the same time. Consumer confidence out of Japan. Unemployment rate out of Switzerland. Machine tool orders out of Japan. French government budget balance out of Europe, CPI out of Switzerland, Trade balance out of the UK, revised GDP out of Europe. Small business index, JOLTS job openings, and wholesale inventories here in the U.S. Tuesday morning, nothing big there. Core machinery orders and PPI out of Japan Tuesday night. Going into Wednesday, French, Italian, and the UK industrial production and manufacturing production out of UK. Jump to the U.S. an hour into the stock market. Crude oil inventories, 10-year bond auction after that. Fed budget balance number comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. New Zealand has their rate announcement at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, and then their conference right behind it. House price balance index out of the UK. BSI manufacturing index out of Japan. MI inflation expectations and unemployment data out of Australia Wednesday night here in the U.S. Going into Thursday, China, industrial production, fixed asset investment, retail sales, Europe, French final non-farm payrolls, and CPI. China's new loans and money supply, M2 number, 30-year bond auction out of the UK, 10-year bond auction out of Europe. Here on the North American side of things, the NHPI and capacity utilization rate out of Canada, along with retail sales here in the U.S., our weekly unemployment claims numbers, import prices, then business inventories, natty gas. 30-year bond auction in the afternoon here in the U.S. New Zealand's got their FPI and business manufacturing index. Japan revised industrial production and tertiary industry activity, construction output out of UK, industrial production out of Europe, PPI, and preliminary University of Michigan sentiment numbers Friday here in the U.S. I also point out that this is June, so this is going to be triple expiration for options, futures, and commodities, not this week, but the week after. But what that does mean is that we roll futures contracts from the June contract to the September contract between Thursday and Friday of this next week. So we move from the M5 to the U5 contracts. Now, that doesn't, you'd think that doesn't affect Forex, but it kind of does because it's kind of keeps everything in place for a day. So Thursday night going to Friday might be a little less interesting than normal. Week after that, we have triple expiration of options, futures, and commodities. Nothing here that's major in terms of our big three economic numbers to worry about. So we will just call it as we see it. There's a lot of news in general, so hopefully get us moving like we did this last week and capture some of those games. We'll be in the lab helping you out. If you do find these videos useful, please like them on YouTube. It does help us out. Have a great trading week.